Hello bass family and welcome to Everything Bass. Today we're continuing on in the fundamentals of slap with unit 7, and this is a technique, I just call it the thumb pop pop. I've heard other people call it different things, but basically it's another rhythmic ornament that we can use to kind of add some percussive depth to our line, kind of spice them things up. I also like how it can really be used to set up a downbeat or a very important leading tone. So let's just get into the mechanics. So this technique is basically, you're gonna play a note. Now start with just muting every note. I know the sheet music's different than this, but just like get used to like thumbing a muted note and then let both fingers get underneath the D and the G string, and then as you pull up, let the D pop just a microsecond before the G. So it's gonna be, I know that's fast, so let me just slow down the mechanics. I'm coming down with my thumb, coming up with the index, coming up with the middle. And just start that way. Now if it helps you, when my thumb comes down, again, both fingers sneak under the strings they should be under. As I start to pull up, I pull up the fingers together and I just flick the index finger a little before the other one. I just kind of make a little bit of a motion, so this one pops a little before this one. And I get that really quick brr. And it's a neat little device to throw in, and you can throw it in myriad ways. I'm going to show with the exercises today, I'm just going to show a couple. But one way is to use it after you thumb a note. And use it so you go like. See, I can use it to walk around a note. The exercise is written, I basically start on the E, and I'm going to use my pinky on the E, and I play a real E, pop two muted notes, and how I get those muted notes, you notice I'm letting my fingers lay across the string. Instead of that perfect arc that lets the strings vibrate, I let my fingers collapse a little bit. So I go thumb, then I go down to the D on the 5th fret, then I go to the C, and I go back to the D, then I come all the way up here to the B on the 7th fret of the E string, A on the 5th fret, then the G, and back to the A. So I'm going like. I kind of boogered that up. Let me try it again. So obviously, if you can get that down, it's a neat way to precede a thumb. Now remember my kind of rule of thumb, I didn't play on words. When you're doing a technique like this, thumb, pop, pop, freeze your hand after you completed the last aspect of whatever that technique is and see what your hand's doing and what's the most natural thing that would follow. Well, since I'm going thumb, pop, pop, and my hand's up, it really is good to follow with a thumb, and that's how I primarily use it. Now, there's a little difference here too. So you can practice it as thumb, pop, pop, thumb, pop, pop, or it's a subtle variation. You can start with the pops. Pop, pop, thumb, pop, pop, thumb, pop, pop, thumb, pop, pop, thumb. It's just a different perspective, but it's really kind of the same thing. Now, let's look at exercise 2. Exercise 2 starts with the pop pops. When I thumb the D now, instead of I should have said that the previous exercise, the thumb note was an 8th note, and I was popping 2 16th notes. That's why it wasn't like 1 and a 2 and. It was dun, 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 dun. That's an 8th note, 2 16th notes. Now I'm going to do all 16th notes. So it's going to be 2 muted pops, thumbing the D on the E string, hammering on the E on the the D on the A string, hammering on the E on the A string. So I'm going. So for you fret counters, which I can be one of them, a 5th fret to the 7th fret. So I'm getting this, which is a cool little burst of notes. Now I want to work that around, so the next thing I do is I move that 5th and 7th to the D string, back to the A, to the E string, and I just kind of move it around. Slowly. So, kind of a cool setup. I like that, those 4 16th notes. I like how I can throw that into a line, Just, it's so fluid, and it's just got such a cool, like, little machine gun burst of notes that I just kind of like. When you first start, don't be discouraged if you're really like putting a lot of, like, they're really loud, but later on try to get the dynamic level of those pops to be quieter and let them kind of sit, almost like when a drummer's playing this hi-hat really delicately and then slams on the snare. I think that variation in dynamic level is very cool for slap lines, and something that I think can really make your slap lines a lot more effective and interesting and convey more emotion, which is really the name of the game. We play music to create an emotion in the listener and hopefully tell a story. And so that's why it's important to have all these little aspects. Just like if you were to be a author and you want to write books, the more vocabulary I have, the more you can actually describe, and the better you can describe, and the better you can tap into emotions. If you only had like 7 verbs and 10 nouns, it's not going to be a great book. So there, that's it. Fundamentals of slap, the thumb pop pop technique, or pop pop thumb technique. Work it out. Download the music if you are a Patreon subscriber. Again, I always feel I'm a visual learner, so it always seems to help me in the past to actually print something out, look at it. So I want to offer that to you guys. Now, if we're talking fundamentals of slap, we already talked about in the previous unit Larry Graham and his best of Larry Graham and Graham Central Station, and that's obviously, of course, foundational to us learning how to slap. But we can also go to Sly and the Family Stone's greatest hits, which is also Larry Graham, and this preceded Graham Central Station, and you really get to hear complete the genesis of a lot of the slapping that we now take for granted. Larry was out there pioneering it. He was discovering it, and it's great. The other thing I like about the way Sly wrote songs is a lot of times whatever the pattern is, the bass line, the slap pattern, or the fingerstyle pattern, he locks in and just plays the same thing over and over again. The reason I say that's good, it helps you as you're trying to develop maybe sense of timing and expression and when to accent and things like that. It's great when you can play along with the recording and the bass player plays that over and over again. It really helps. Secondarily, I think it helps you build your stamina as a player so that you can get whatever technique you're working on, whether song, like a slapping. If you do Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself Again, and just lock into that and play it over and over again, it's really going to help your accuracy, your stamina, your note placement. As you're doing that, listen to the other instruments. Don't just isolate and focus on what Larry's doing. Listen to everyone in the band and really try to make sure that what you're doing fits in like a tapestry and it's not laying on top. And I think that's really important. I just love this recording. It's still one of my go-tos. Throw it on when I'm messing around the house and just enjoy what this group of incredibly talented musicians were able to create and immortalize. So there you have it, Sly and the Family Stone Greatest Hits. You can order it on any store that sells CDs. It's widely available. I found it in multiple places. If you're into a store that actually sells CDs, I found it in many of the music stores around town, or when I'm on the road with doing clinics or traveling for any reason. I'll go in and it's amazing how many times I find this CD, and it's usually fairly affordable too. All right, so there you have it, Fundamentals of Slap Unit 7 and Sly and the Family Stone's Greatest Hits. I really, really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I love doing these videos, and I hope you're finding some value in them. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe to the channel. And of course, it'd be great if you could share it with other bass players you know, people that are just starting, people that are more along their ways, anyone. The lessons are foundational at this point. They're going to get much more complex. But really what I want is a network of bass players. I want everyone sharing ideas. Thank you for the comments you guys have been making so far. I try to respond to every single one. And of course, if you want to get more in depth and you have a question you just want to ask me privately, you can go to dtitus@daletitus.com and I would gladly help you with what you need to work on. All right, guys, have a great day, and I'll see you on the next video.